Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and my craft table. Today I'm going to be doing the day 2 card from the Spellbinders 13 Days of Craftoween. So let's go ahead and open the box. Now if you saw my unboxing video, you've already seen some of this. These are 2 paper pads that I have in my stash, and I just put them in here because that just kept everything together. I have some extra embellishments from my personal stash, so I just kept these in here. And then I'm going to move all of that out of the way and just show you again, in case you didn't see day 1, I'll link that for you. But essentially what you get is you get a little sheet of photopolymer Halloween stamps. Like, these are super cute. I don't have any Halloween stamps, so I'm so excited to have these now in my collection. You also get a little bag of purple, orange, and black sequin, and then you get 13 daily cards. These are actually cards, and the picture on the outside is not the die on the inside, but the artwork is just amazing. So we did day 1 yesterday. Today we're going to work on day 2. Pull that out. So let's see what is in day 2. So I like these little bags with these little folders because it keeps it all together. All right, so day 2, this is so pretty. I just love that artwork. So inside we have a little raven with a monocle sitting on top of a skull, and then a suggested stamp. So all of the little sentiments down here are from the suggested stamp. And this just says, wishing you a mysterious Halloween night. These are on like a really thick vellum or frost, well, I think it's vellum, but it's a really thick vellum sheet. And then you've got like a map of your dies. So I love how this is organized. Let's go ahead and pull all of these off. So we have our skull layer, the monocle, the bow, and the hat ribbon, the hat, wings, and a tail feather, bottom portion of the bird, and then we have the feet. Actually, this is the beak, and then that's just the wing. So I'm gonna set this aside, and then when I'm done, I'll just put everything back where it came from. All right, so let's decide exactly what it is that we are gonna create today. So before I get started, let me pull out, I'm going to be using my VersaFine ink for the sentiment and a little acrylic block for the stamp. Okay, so I've chosen my cardstock colors. I have white for the skull, purple for the bow tie and the hat band. I have like this really pretty mustardy yellow for the feet and for the little streamer on the monocle. I've got a galaxy black for the hat and regular black for the bird, and then the shadow layer for the skull. And I'm going to be cutting this item out twice. I want the beak area in like a grayish color, or like a beige gray, and then their wing is going to be black, so this will get cut out twice. And then this here, the monocle itself, I want that in the gray also. Let's do this. I'm going to ink blend. I'm using my Distress Oxide, and that's frayed burlap, and I'm just going to use this for the monocle. And then I'm going to use hickory smoke for the beak of the bird. I'll wipe this off really quick. Not sure where my gray brush is, and quite frankly, it's okay if I have a little bit of frayed burlap on this one. So then I'll do this side over here. So if you ever find that you have something that you want to create, but you don't have a cardstock color that's just quite right, then don't be afraid to ink blend. That's a great way to make your own colored cardstock. White is relatively inexpensive compared to the rest. You can also use inks and stamps and dies to create your own pattern paper. I think I'll give this frayed burlap just a little wash of the gray. Make it a little more dingy looking, I guess is what I would say. Okay, I think that's good for the monocle. And let's make our beak area a little bit darker. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to just set this little piece of paper to the side, and I'm gonna let this dry and smooth out while we do all of the others. I need to make sure, oh yeah, that'll work, that'll work. We'll go ahead and cut these out. Actually, I'll cut this out here. And I need this. All right, I'm gonna bring in my little Scout again. It's very handy. I'm gonna grab some washi tape, and we're gonna get all of these items put down on our paper. Okay, so we have all of these in their place, ready to go. Grab our top cutting plate, and we'll just send this through. So I think we have all of our pieces. So we are done with die cutting. The next thing I want to do is I want to ink blend this little arch right here. So this arch is a leftover from a card that I made the other day, and I have this really cool diamond stencil. This is a sticky mat or a wheel mat for the Altenew stamp wheel, and I don't have one of those, but I do love it. It is sticky on both sides. I'm just gonna go ahead and today just undo the top part. All right, so we're gonna use Wilted Violet, Spiced Marmalade, and then we're gonna use Black Soot. So this is a nice spooky set. Okay, and I'm gonna do the Wilted Violet on the bottom here. And I'm just gonna go up, and I think I'm gonna go up about, how far do I wanna go up? I guess about almost halfway. And this stencil is, because of the delicate lines, I'm not gonna press really hard with my brush, so it might take me a minute or two to get this ink blended. Okay, I am going to stop there. Now these Distress Oxides are actually pretty forgiving if you've never tried them. They blend beautifully. They give a super soft finish. They sit on top of the paper and each other. They're not like dye inks where they just kind of, you know, seep into the paper. And to clean a stencil, I just spray it with regular rubbing alcohol like you would get from the grocery store or the drugstore. Wow, that is striking. Let's see, I need to lift this. I'm trying not to get my fingers inky, and I'm gonna let that sit over there. I'll set this aside. We have a background for this focal point that we're gonna be creating. Let's start getting all of our pieces squared away. I decided at the last minute to do the feathers in this black that has like a shimmer. It's a little bit different black shade than the actual bird body. Then I have the shimmer hat. We have those. Oh, this goes with the monocle. There we go. And then our feet and our beak. So let's grab some glue. So I'm going to put glue on the back of our skeleton face. And I do really appreciate how Spellbinders, they do their dies so that, you know, they kind of think a little bit of everything. Some of them are super intricate. Some are super easy, but look intricate. So there's our little skull, okay? And he can just hang out under that glass block. Okay, so on these, and I know you can't tell, but right here and right here are some lines, some debossing lines, and that is where the die tells you where to put the hat. So you actually don't even have to guess. Everything has a spot, okay? So we'll put our little hat band on, just like so. And I'll shove that under that block. Let's start building our bird. On our bird, there is a deboss line right here. So let's put a little bit of glue. Actually, I lied. I don't want to put glue there. I want to put glue on the back here because this is going to go on top of that beak. I need a little glue there. And then we'll just slide that down right there. Perfect. That looks great. Okay, and then you can see how the eye, let's do the wing. This is that debossed area for the wing. And we'll just pick that up, put that right down in there, hold that down, and I probably could zoom in a little more for you there. All right. Next, we want to do our feet. This is where our feet are going to go. And they're just going to go right on top. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's see. We're going to put the monocle on top of where the eye is. And then we'll have this string. And I'm just barely running the tip of my glue down because I don't want this to be goopy when I put it on there, and it might still be too much glue, but let's see. Okay, all right, and then we're gonna have this piece. Now I need to figure out which way this goes. So it goes about like that. So again, I'm gonna put the smallest amount of glue I think I can get away with. And I'm gonna pick that up and I'm gonna set that down in there, just like that. And then finally, we have our little bow tie. How cute is this little bow tie? And let's make that pretty straight. Okay, so I am going to grab a bigger acrylic block. I'm gonna move all of these elements up here to this top. I'm just gonna set them under there. Okay, so I'm trying to decide if I like just this, if I like just this, if I like that, or if I like that. I almost feel like it needs a darker background. I don't know. I think that might be a little bit busy. So maybe we don't use any of that at all. Maybe we see if there's, oh yeah, that's way better. I do like the element of the spider webs. I could do without the spider webs and just use black, but those are cute. So we're gonna use those. So this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm actually going to cut this down and let me see how much of a margin I have. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Let me do 3 3/4 by 5. I think that'll give me a nice base. Okay, so we have that there. We're gonna have that right there. Yeah, I think that looks great. Here's my card base. I'm just gonna use a side fold card base today, and then it'll go on like that. I think that looks great. Okay, so let's get all of this down. So I think I'm gonna just use some tape runner. Okay, and then we're gonna line this up and get it centered as possible. Okay, I think that looks great. All right, so now we're going to build our scene, and before we glue anything down, we need to see kind of how everything is going to go. So this is going to sit up there. I think this looks great. Let's move these off, and we're going to put our little skeleton head right there. I'm just going to use liquid glue to put this in that spot. Perfect. And then we will do our little bird. Now I could do some foam tape, but I'm just going to go ahead and let this be a little one-dimensional. Okay. And then we're going to stick that bird right over here. There we go. And then our hat. Okay, now the hat is tilted just a little bit, not very much. It's going to go right along there. All right, I think that looks great. So I'm going to move that over to the side, let it sit under that block while it dries. And then I just want to use the Happy Halloween because I can have it go straight across there at the bottom. So let's pull Happy Halloween off. We're going to use that just like that, and then I'll be able to just trim that down with the paper trimmer. But I think I'm going to grab my Misty. You can totally do this with your stamp block. That was my original intention, but I want to get this really straight. Well, I say straight. I need it to be super close. Perfect. And I haven't used this one before, so I'm just rubbing off the manufacturer coating. Feel free to use an eraser if you would prefer. Got our VersaFine here. This is such a great ink for detailed stamps and for sentiments. I really like it. And then I'm not going to press very hard because you don't want the letters to be like squished out and get warped. So I'm just basically putting my finger on top, lift that up. Okay, so I do need to put a little bit of pressure here at the bottom. Just a little bit. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and do it one more time, just for good measure. And then I think that'll be more than sufficient. Okay, that is fantastic. That needs to hang out for just a moment while I clean off my stamp. Stencils I use rubbing alcohol, but for stamps, I just use this cleaner. I get this at Hobby Lobby. It's by Ranger. It's water-based stamp cleaner, just in case you're wondering which brand it is. It smells like bubble gum. I love it. It smells so good. Of course, I like the smell of alcohol too. It smells so clean. Growing up in a medical household, hanging out at the hospital with my dad, it just, I don't know, the smell of alcohol is very comforting to me. You can laugh, you can chuckle if that is funny. What's a wonderful smell that takes you back to your childhood? Halloween takes me back to my childhood, and so does smells. All right, we've got this ready to go. Move that out of the way, bring this in. That looks so good. Okay, let me give you a close-up of that. That is super fantastic. And I didn't really notice, but this could be like the ground and foggy, and then it's getting a little like toward the dusk or towards sunshine, the sunrise or sunset. Kind of interesting. I don't know. It's what it makes me think of. All right, let's cut this down. I think this has had enough time to dry. I'm going to lift this little arm, and I just want to make sure it's straight. So here is my Happy Halloween. Easy breezy. Okay. I'm going to grab my card base. Okay, so I have my panel. I have my sentiment. Here's my card base. And then we'll put the embellishments on. So a lot of times what I like to do, let me burnish this down a little bit more, is I like to use it's a piece of craft foam, just like regular little kids craft foam, flimsy as all get out. And I like to put double-sided adhesive on both sides. So I got this idea from Carissa Wiley a long time ago, and I just never really did it until this summer. We're going to, as long as I don't take off the adhesive, I can actually cut this with my paper trimmer. So I'm going to take off that much on the sides and on the bottom. So I like these words. These words kind of help me line up where I want to cut. So that's fun. All right, so we'll have that. And then I'll just use some of this. I'll cut it down to put it on the back of the sentiment. So I turn it over and peel up the double-sided adhesive, line it up. Bring in our card base, grab a magnet or two. Okay, here we go. And then we're gonna get this centered on our card as best we can. All right. Now that foam tape is gonna hold all of this down. There won't be any warping or anything, and it actually just gives a really nice, professional, strong feel to the card. So now it feels like something you would purchase at Hallmark or in the grocery store or something. Definitely better because it is handmade. Okay, so we need to cut this down so I can use that foam square for something else. And then I think I'll cut a sliver off of this, just like that. Take the release paper off, and we'll just get this on here. And then we can pull the other side off. Now on this one, I'm gonna grab the tiniest, I'm gonna grab my glue, and I'm gonna put the tiniest little bit of glue on top of the foam tape. And so if I need to move it, I have a few more seconds than as if I didn't need to move it. Okay, so I'm thinking about right there. And then that has a nice little margin for the background. Oh, I love that. That looks so good. How fun is this card? So now it's embellishment time. Part of my embellishments is always a sticker on the back. And then we have our front. There's our little wand here. Okay, so we definitely need some of these little spooky, oh, y'all, I gotta show you these. Okay, let's see. I need to find, let me grab a little bowl. There's a perfect little thing in here. So I want to get it out. Okay, check that out. Isn't that fun? That can just kind of go right there. Oh, I love that. Okay, we have these embellishments here. We'll figure out our colors here in a minute. But I want to put that right there? Or do you think it would be better to go over here? Is it better on that side? I don't know. I kind of, ooh, how about right there? How about we put it right here? And in that case, I'm going to use a piece of that foam tape. There we go. Oh, there's a little sequin. Okay. Still sticking to me. How fun is this going to be? Just a tiny bit of glue. And then we're going to put that right there. Perfect. Check that out. That is so cute. All right, I love that. Let's see. So I really think I like this best. The orange and the purple, they're just too much. I think they just clash too much. So this here will kind of mimic that tail feathers. So I like this little orientation over here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is our finished card. That looks really, really good. I love that. This is fun. Okay, well, this is day 2 of the Spellbinders 13 Days of Craftoween. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until I see you again in the next card or craft, as always, have an amazing day and happy crafting.
Thank you all so much for watching today. I'm so glad that you can join me at my craft table. If you're not already, I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you'll know when new videos arrive. Have a great day, and as always, happy crafting.